Janie here, and today I am so excited to share something with you because it is something that I designed and created myself. And it is a Rolodex or Memory Dex card holder. And what motivated me to do this is a couple of years ago, I saw some people doing their artwork on Rolodex cards, and I thought, I want to do that. And so I bought the Rolodex cards, but I could never find a holder that I liked. So I never created anything. And then this past year, Memory Dex cards have become a really big thing. And I created my very first Memory Dex card as part of a challenge and never made another one. Why? Because I didn't have a card holder for it. And to be honest with you, I did not want to spend that kind of money on a Memory Dex card holder because I'm cheap. So, never seen one of these before. What I did was I took my card and I did some measurements and I used my amazing math skills and I designed this, I created it, it came out perfect the first time, and I was so jazzed that I have to share it with you guys because it is so easy. I took all the hard work out of it and I made it easy for you guys. So let's go check it out. So here it is, and you can decorate it any way that you want. It is 4 1/4 inches wide and 3 inches long. You can make it longer if you want, but we'll discuss that later in the video. But I think it came out absolutely beautiful and perfect. Here are all the measurements and score lines for each of the pieces that you're going to be using, and you can just pause this here so that you can write all of that down. And here is just an example of how I would lay it out on a piece of 8 1/2 by 11 inch cardstock. Okay, we're going to start off with our 5 1/4 by 6 inch piece of cardstock. And I'm going to set this right here in case you want to look at it. But we're going to put it on here with it 6 inches this way, 5 1/4 that way. And we are going to score it at 1/2 inch from each side. So get over here and do 1/2 inch. And over here we're going to go into 4 3/4, which is 1/2 inch from that side. And oops, I just slipped. Hopefully it's okay. Take a look. Well, it's got a little mark on there, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, now we're going to turn it to where we have 6 inches. And we're going to score it at 1 inch. And we are going to score it at 4 inches. And this is where I'm going to talk to you a little bit about if you wanted to make this longer. Okay, so here's how it works. You're actually scoring it 1 inch from one end and 2 inches from the other end. Okay, so if you were to make this 9 inches long, you would still score it at 1 inch, and then you would come in 2 inches from there, so you would score it at 7 inches. So it's 1 inch from one end and 2 inches from the other end. And that is all the scoring that we need to do on this piece. We're going to come in now with the little ones, and we're going to score those at 1 1/2 inches. So 1 1/2, and I'm going to turn it around and score it at 1 1/2. Now I know on here it says score at 1 1/2 and 4 1/2. But the reason why I wanted to show you 1 1/2 from each end is because when we were talking earlier, you know, about making this longer, well, if you do that, you need to make this longer as well to match up with it. So if you add 3 inches to this, making this 9 inches, you're going to need to make this 9 inches. But you're still only going to score it at 1 1/2 inches from each end. And I have already scored the other one, so those are ready to go. Now we're working on these little pieces that are 2 inches by 3 inches. And on the 2 inch side, we just need to find the middle, which is where 1 inch is going to be. And if you have a template already cut out, you'll always know. You can just line it up and go, okay, there's 1 inch, and you can put a dot there. But if it's your first time doing it, or if you just don't want to do it with a template, you just measure up 1 inch and put a little dot. And you can barely see that. Actually, you probably can't see it at all. There it is. Okay. And we're going to do that on each of these. And then whether you use a ruler to draw a line from there up to this corner and cut along that, or whether you put it in your paper trimmer and line that up, but you need to cut from that halfway point up to this corner. And I am going to do that on both of these, and then I'm going to bring all of our pieces in and we're going to get to work. Okay, we've got our pieces all cut out and scored. You're going to be needing some double-sided tape, preferably something strong. This is Terrific tape, which is the strongest I've ever used, and we've got this in 1/2 inch here, and a bone folder, and a pair of scissors. So let's get started. Nothing needs to be done to these, so we're going to set those aside. On these, we are going to fold them at the score lines so that they look like, well, here, let me see if I can get, there we go. So they look like that. And you can just fold them in really good. You can use your bone folder if you want. We're going to do the same thing with the other one. So these two pieces are done, and we'll set those aside. Now we're going to come over to this one with all of the score lines on it. And at every one of these seams, let me see if I can get it there. See that little score line right there? We are just going to cut it just like that. And we're going to do the same thing on that one. We're going to turn it around. And again, you're going to cut right on that score line, right up to the other one. So you're just creating these little flaps here. There's my boo-boo. I don't know if you can see it, but unimportant, that's on the bottom. Okay, and we did that. Now with that done, we're going to go around and we're going to make these little angled cuts. Just like that. So we are creating little tabs. Come here, you little thing. Come here. There we go. Okay, so we're going to create little tabs. And we're going to do this to each of them. Just like that. And I'm going to do this on the other side as well. So both sides are going to look exactly the same. But that's what it's going to look like. So let me do this side and I'll be right back. Okay, so the other side is cut out. And while I was doing this, I just thought of something genius that I should have done. And I didn't, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Okay, so we're going to need to put the double-sided tape on each of these sections on both sides. And that's always a pain. You know, you've got these little angles. You're trying to put tape on each one individually. I should have put the score tape right across this, the whole side, because I would still be able to see the marks on the other side to cut. And then I could have cut and done all that, and I wouldn't have to deal with trying to cut the tape or tear the tape just right. Duh! I don't know why I didn't think of that before, but I thought of it now. So I am going to do that right now. And because this is dark and the lighting, I can't see where the line is without sticking my head down there. But I'm going to take this tape and I'm going to put it all the way across. And I'm going to do that on both sides. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to snip those out. So hold on, I'll be right back. I should have thought of this before I did that. Okay, I've got the tape going down both sides. I'm turning it over where I would have seen those score lines and known where to cut. But now all I have to do is just go snip out these little V sections there. And this is a whole lot easier than doing it the other way. So there we go. We have tape on all of those tabs. And now it's time to peel it off. And I'm going to show you how to put those on. Sorry, had to get the double-sided tape off from me. Okay, so you're going to notice, and actually, well, this is white. I have the white background because I was working with dark cardstock. You know what? I'm still going to leave the white background. Okay, so you'll see that this is shorter and this is longer. Okay, you'll see that this is shorter and this is longer. And this is going to go right there with the long end toward the long end and the short end toward the short end. So we're just going to peel. Uh-oh. Guess I didn't clip it good enough and peeled it off that end too. I'll just stick it back on. Okay. So again, short end, long end. And you're just going to line it right up on there. Just like that. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. I probably didn't cut this right either. There we go. I'll just tear it off. There we go. Okay, again, we need the short end toward the short end and the long end toward the long end, and we are just going to do the same thing again. We're going to line this up on here, and sorry from my angle, it takes me a little bit longer to make sure things are lined up. Okay, so this is what it looks like, and now we're going to make some folds. So let's just fold on all of the score lines. We're just folding it in like this. So folding them that direction. And the same thing here, we're going to fold these sides in on the score line, because remember there's a score line right there. Okay, so not right here where we attached, but right where that score line is, you're folding in. Okay, so we have those all folded in, and just keep going, fold all of your score lines in. All of them going the same direction. So if you're holding it this way, they're all going valley fold. Okay, so we have them all folded in. And now comes the fun part, because we are going to adhere this together like this. Okay, so just peel off your tape and then line this up with the edge right there. Okay, same thing here. Just peel off this tape and line it up just like that. Okay, and if you find that any of your edges are not exactly even, because that can happen, you know, when you're cutting, you may be off just slightly. I know I am, and I know I have been. And it's really simple to just take your scissors and trim it to make it match up. So here's your little box. And in this instant, I'm going to show you, because I think we all make mistakes and we all have to learn how to hide them. But on this one, I did not get my sides at exactly 1 inch. So it did not come all the way up to the top. And same thing on this side. So I'm just going to kind of trim it a little bit, but not all the way around. Just kind of trim it to make it blend. And you can do that on any of the places that you find. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to be right back with the next step. Okay, I've cut out all of my patterned paper that I'm going to use to layer on the box. And actually, I'm going to be doing outside and inside of my box. So you see kind of duplicates of everything. You may only want to do the outside. It's totally up to you. And it's also up to you whether you cut them 1/4 of an inch smaller each direction or 1/8 of an inch smaller each direction, because you guys are crafters and card makers and you have your preferences on how you want your layers to fit. But I did mine 1/4 of an inch smaller, and I will give you those measurements as we go along. Also, something really important are these. So because they are white on the back, this side is not going to be seen at all. I was able to put my little mark halfway up the side and draw my line so that I would know where to cut. That makes it easier for me to see in my paper trimmer, or easier if you are using scissors, you can just go and cut that right off. But one important thing to remember is you're going to want to make them going opposite directions. You need one for one side of the box and one for the other side of the box, and you do not want them to both go the same direction. So you don't want two the same direction. If you're doing inside and outside, of course, you'll need two for each direction. But do you see that? So the same midway up to the point, and then this one midway up to the point. Okay, so I'm going to cut those so they'll be ready for the box. And oh wait, before I go do that, I actually cut out pieces for the bottom of the box, and I decided I wanted one for the outside also. I normally wouldn't have done that, but I just decided to. And so I will have the measurements for those as well. As we do this, I will put the measurements up. Okay, I'm ready to glue these pieces on. I'm going to be using my Beacon 3-in-1 glue, and I'm going to be speeding up this process, but I will put the measurements up on the screen as I'm putting those pieces on the box. Okay, we have got that all decorated inside and out. And now for the final pieces right here. You've been wondering about these the whole time. The reason that they are scored 1.5 inches from each side is because when you glue them in here, you're going to glue them so that those ends touch this end. So those ends go right up against there on both sides, and that is going to put our little rails, I'm going to call them, in the right place. So you don't have to guess if these are in the right place or not, because they will be. So we're just going to put some glue on the outside on each side. You can use double-sided tape, but I find this easier to slide them in there that way. Because with double-sided tape, you really have to get them right the first time. So put a little glue on that side, turn it around, put a little glue on this outside edge, and I'm just going to slide those right in. Just like that. Of course, I've got glue all over my fingers now because I put too much, but it's okay. And if you find that that curves, which it can, but it's supposed to sit straight like that, you can straighten it out. It just curves a little bit. If you need to, you can shorten it, but it would be shortening it like 1/8 of an inch. So just keep that in mind, and that it would have to be that center part that is shortened that 1/8 of an inch, and you would still be scoring the outside edges at 1.5 inches. So that's not going to change at all. Okay, so we've got that in there, and we're going to let those sit. a minute while I get the glue off my fingers. Okay. And now, hold on one second here. Let me grab this, and you can see that it sits on there perfectly. Just slides right in there the way it's supposed to be. And those are your little railings, and you can just have as many cards in here as you want. Well, as many cards that will fit. And I know we've talked about the possibility of making it longer this way, but there is something I will tell you. The longer you make it, the weaker these sides are going to be, and the more floppy these are going to be. So my suggestion would just be, if you need more than one, make a couple of them, and set them side by side, or one behind the other, or however you want to do it. But I suggest that as opposed to adding more inches like we talked about earlier. But there you go. Wasn't that easy? And now you can decorate it, put pearls, lace, flowers, whatever you want to do to this, and it will just be the perfect little Rolodex card holder or Memory Dex card holder, however you want to use it. Thank you all for watching today, and I hope that you really liked this, because if you are into or want to get into the Rolodex art or the Memory Dex cards, and you just don't want to go spend that kind of money on a holder for it, this will be perfect for you. And if you just need one for your Rolodex cards, for your little office, keeping track of addresses and phone numbers and stuff, this is perfect for that too. So I hope you guys give it a try, and happy crafting, everyone. Bye-bye.